Hello, I would like to take you on a journey into the world of professional wrestling. This is the Rasslin Report. Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rasslin Report, where I talk nothing but my passion, and that is wrestling. I'm your host, John Ale, and I'd like to thank you all very much once again for joining me on this Monday night, Sunday afternoon, Friday evening. However you are watching this, and whenever you are watching this, it is always appreciated, and it keeps my fire going. This is the build-up week to the Elimination Chamber, which means actually quite a lot happened. This was the show that we needed to have drive everything home, and I think they did a good job with that overall, and it gives us a good amount of hype for the Elimination Chamber tomorrow night. Um, as I'm recording this, I've already seen the Elimination Chamber, so I'm gonna act like I haven't for the sake of this week, for the sake of this podcast, for the viewers in mind who have maybe not checked it out yet. So I'm just gonna go on ahead and just talk about Raw and SmackDown without giving any spoilers away. And I should have the Elimination Chamber review coming out like a day after this, so expect that. Expect the Elimination Chamber review. This was a crazy weekend in wrestling. I've got a lot to talk about, and I'm hoping you guys are ready to strap on in. So let's get this thing rolling with Monday Night Raw. So we kick off this week with Gunther. He opens the show. He comes out from the audience and he's talking about AJ Styles' retirement celebration that's tonight in Atlanta. Obviously, he's the guy who retired AJ Styles, so he doesn't quite understand why this whole thing is happening to begin with. He should be gone. He should be retired. He was the guy that put AJ out, and he's gonna let the fans know about it. He thinks it's disgraceful to have a celebration for a loser. They should really be celebrating Gunther because of the fact he retired him. But Raw General Manager Adam Pearce has had enough, and he will let he will let Gunther know that about 100 times. That is enough. That is enough. He tells Gunther that the celebration with AJ Styles will go down tonight, and he has security kick Gunther out. Gunther says he will leave, but not because Adam Pearce told him to, but because of his disgrace for tonight's events. He will leave on his own free will. And as he's walking away, Dragon Pierce, I'm sorry. Dragon Lee came out and attacked Gunther twice now. This is 2 weeks in a row. Dragon Lee clearly wants to settle shit with Gunther. He's not happy with how Gunther treated him. He's gonna get some revenge. We're gonna get a match between the two. I don't quite know when. But security eventually comes out, pulls the two apart, and Gunther's escorted backstage. Dragon Lee actually catches up to him. He breaks through the security on the stage, goes running back, beats Gunther's ass, and security comes running and breaks him up again. And Pierce walks back in there and just firmly handles the situation, and everybody gets Dragon Lee out of the way. Gunther's getting up, and Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, he makes his way out to the ring, his home state of Georgia. He stares Gunther down, and Gunther's like hardly able to process what the hell just happened to him. But Cody makes his way down in the ring. But before he can get much stuff out, you know how this usually goes. The Vision and Paul Heyman and Austin Theory and Logan Paul. That's it. That's all that consists of the Vision at this point in time. I'll get into that later. Actually, yeah, I'll get into that later as to why we end up with only Logan Paul and Austin Theory. But Austin Theory, speak of the devil, he talks about how ashamed he is to be from Atlanta. And Logan Paul starts hyping up Bronson Reed, big Bronson Reed, to go all the way to WrestleMania. Because tonight he's going to win his qualifying match, and Cody is going to be the first one out the door tomorrow night or not tomorrow night, this Saturday at the Chamber. But this is all before Yeet Man, Jey Uso comes out, and he gets his qualifying match going with Big Bronson Reed, and I forgot who the third guy was. Oh yeah, that's right, El Grande Americano. Um, he the original, not number 2, but the original. He gets a title shot. So we just cut right into this triple threat qualifying match. And I really think throwing El Grande in here was honestly a silly, but a good move because we all knew he was going to take the pin to either Jey or Bronson. So, and especially considering now it seems like we're starting to book him in things that are meaningful. It seems like we can maybe tell a story here, like how we did at the beginning. And because I enjoyed the beginning of this El Grande stuff. So I hope we can keep something going here because I'd rather something than nothing because it feels like there's been nothing going with this guy. But, here he is about to try and get a world title shot at WrestleMania. Considering where Jey was last year, Jey Uso, and where he is now as a tag team champion, I didn't believe this was his moment. And I think Bronson Reed could most benefit from this last chamber spot. But according to rumors earlier in the night, Bronson Reed was supposed to win this match, but I'll get into why he didn't later in the news break section. It's huge. It's devastating. I'll get into it later. But El Grande and Jey basically take over the last bit of this match, and Jey hits his famous Uso splash, but El Grande countered into an ankle lock. But Jey eventually breaks out and hits another Uso splash for the win, and will fill in the final spot in the men's Elimination Chamber match, which now consists of himself, Javon Evans, Trick Williams, LA Knight, Randy Orton, and Cody Rhodes. So the men's chamber match has been filled. We will be filling out the women's match a little later on in the evening, or I think it's SmackDown. I think it was SmackDown it happened. So it was overall a good match, right? One that's predictable. Feel like you can pretty much figure that Jey was gonna win this thing the whole time. Because they wanna have him yeeting on the chamber or something, like I don't know. It is what it is. I like Jey. I don't think he's gonna go all the way to WrestleMania again, but good for him. Just hope he doesn't end up. I don't know. We'll figure that out later. But we then cut to the decision time, the big decision time. The decision we've been waiting weeks to figure out. Who is Liv Morgan going to challenge at WrestleMania? We get an answer tonight. We do. We officially get an answer from the woman herself, and I will talk to you about it. So Liv Morgan walks out to the ring with her boyfriend Dominic Mysterio as usual. A little less confident though than she usually has been. Every week she's usually strutting her stuff, talking about how she's the greatest of all time and all that stuff. But she's not carrying that energy this week. It's obvious that whatever Stephanie said to her got to her and really touched her in a way. So this was really interesting, I think, to get us kind of going, get our brains thinking about what Liv has got going on in that head. But she gets to the ring. Dominic calls out both Stephanie Vaquer and Jade Cargill. And Liv, before she makes her choice, would like to get something off of her chest. She says that Stephanie's words caught her by surprise. And she thought about what she said and that she's right, Stephanie is, about Liv. And she had no idea about Stephanie's story and apologizes for ever even judging her. Interesting stuff here. Liv then turns her attention to Jade, but just before it looked like she was going to challenge Jade and patch things up with Stephanie. Doesn't happen. Liv turns her attention right to Stephanie Vaquer and clocks her in the dome with her microphone, and Stephanie is laid out. And then Liv proceeds to start beating ass, beating ass, beating ass. It was something we were figuring was going to happen, but now we know for sure. Liv Morgan will challenge Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania 42. It's clear that whatever words got to her were actually words that turned against Stephanie herself. Liv is very upset. Liv took those words to heart, but in a bad way. Not in the way that you can rekindle a relationship. In a way that I'm beating your ass and taking your title. So, this thing's about to heat up as we get closer to WrestleMania now that we know officially who Liv's chosen. She's holding the title up over Stephanie's body, lifeless body. She's out. Liv's got the title. It's going to be a very interesting few weeks. I imagine we'll get a little more intense now that we've officially figured it out. At least I hope so. I like where they've been going with it. I think it's got potential. Um, I think it's perfectly fine. Um, so good job for Liv. Good job for Liv for sure. Liv did a great job here. We then cut to a backstage segment where Javon Evans is talking about his biggest opportunity of his entire career ahead of him at the Elimination Chamber. He's 21 years old. He's younger than me. And he's got an Elimination Chamber match. This kid's hardly been in the main roster for a cup of coffee. And he's going to the moon. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. He's stopped then by Atlanta native rapper Offset. And then the New Day interrupt both of them as they're kind of introducing each other, kind of talking. New Day interrupt and they question Offset about why he never accepted their invites to a show, but then he accepts Javon Evans' invites to a show. What makes the New Day any bit cooler than Javon Evans? But Javon doesn't like how they're talking, and he wants to challenge Kofi Kingston, the OG, to a match tonight. And Kofi says that if Evans could ever try to lace up his boots, he would fail. And Kofi's a legend in the game. If you know anything about professional wrestling, Kofi Kingston is a legend. Certified. Certified. Don't forget that. If you don't remember anything else, Kofi Kingston. In legend. Anyway, it was a great match. I'll get into the match. It was a match I didn't think I needed, but a match I got. I'm happy with. So whoever came up with that in the writers' room, I'm cool with it. Absolutely. We then cut to another grudge match between Maxine Dupree and Natty. This has been brewing for a while now. I wonder. I think we'll end up getting another blow off match, maybe, because this definitely wasn't the blow off match. This was another throwaway. Just another one where like Maxine gets a little bit of offense in, but Natty just kind of takes this thing over, and there isn't really any fight out of Maxine. She got thrown into a ring post, and she was just kind of knocked out at that point. She wasn't gonna get back up. I don't know. It was just kind of silly. I think we've got to have an actual match between the two. One that involves back and forth. Like, I get what you're trying to build with Natty, and you can only do that for so long. I think so. I think we've got to actually eventually have a good, solid back and forth match between these two. I don't care who wins, to be honest with you. Either woman could benefit, but you can't keep having Maxine Dupree get her ass beat every week. You know what I mean? Like, she's got to get some offense in, but she will. She will. But we then cut to another backstage segment when we're in the Judgment Day clubhouse, as we are every week. And JD McDonough is apologizing to Finn Balor for getting hot-headed last week and just wants him to be world champion no matter what. He just wants to help the guy. He's sorry that he was trying to invoke his wants and feelings on Finn. He just wants to move forward. And Finn says he's been focusing on the biggest match of his career, which at this point, I guess it is. Finn always kind of has these biggest matches of his careers. You know, they kind of keep growing as his career's gone longer. Finn says he's been focusing on the biggest match of his career and says that when both him and JD were hurt, he did things alone. Dominic and JD, at least. This is when Dominic started to interfere, and he's talking about how he doesn't have help in any of his matches, and he wants to not have to do things alone, and Finn wants to do things alone. So there's a dynamic there brewing. Finn wants to start doing things on his own. Dominic wants to keep having help from other people, of course, because he can't win nothing on his own. Ha ha ha. Don't get me started. So there's more Judgment Day turmoil, holy Judgment Day turmoil. Despite the Liv and Raquel stuff that's brewing under the surface, Finn and Dominic are clashing every week. And so I imagine one day there's going to be a separation of the highest order. And the title of that episode will be Holy Judgment Day Turmoil, because I say it every week. I say it every week until it happens, so just keep tuned. But we then cut to another backstage segment where we see Raw General Manager Adam Pearce. He sees that the mysterious box has made its way to Raw. The box that's got Elimination Chamber's date on it. And Nick Aldis sent it over from last week's SmackDown. So he's telling now this security guard for the week that he wants this package shipped out to Chicago, which is the site and the home of the Elimination Chamber. So him and Aldis can open it up together. I don't know what it'll be, but they're gonna end up opening it up together. So that's mysterious. Very mysterious indeed. This box just keeps ping-ponging its way around the place. Then we cut to a pretty big moment of the night. We cut to the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. This is the first time we've seen Brock Lesnar since the Royal Rumble match. And when he was eliminated in quite controversial fashion during an entrance. Gotta do better than that. We gotta eliminate Brock on camera. We didn't even eliminate Brock on camera. We just found out that it happened. Anyway, don't get me started. Paul Heyman comes out with him. I wasn't expecting Paul Heyman to come out with him. If this doesn't show you that Paul Heyman has too many people, he has too many people. He has too many wise men. He has too many, or he's a wise man to too many people. You know, that's starting to become like, if I'm a Paul Heyman guy, I'm starting to think about my options. He's eventually gonna betray me, dude. Like, I don't trust that shit anymore. But anyway, Paul Heyman comes out and he announces that there will be an open challenge at WrestleMania for Brock Lesnar. And Paul doesn't believe that any one man would be man enough to accept this challenge. And he then releases a list of dates that Brock will be on Raw before WrestleMania. And once more issues challenges to anyone on any of those dates. So this is very interesting stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Brock Lesnar will have a match at WrestleMania. We don't know who and we don't know when. We will figure it out. But very interesting, very important stuff. My hope is that it's the Rula Obafemi. We'll talk about Obafemi later. But I think he would be a perfect challenge for Brock Lesnar. And that's how you propel him to the superstardom that he's only going to be in a matter of time. If he isn't already, right? So that's my pick to have this open challenge, but we'll figure it out eventually who ends up challenging the Beast for WrestleMania. We just know that Brock Lesnar will be a part of it. So that's exciting at any rate. We then cut to the Javon Evans and Kofi Kingston match, and they started with their traditional grappling and striking, and Kofi's trying to use his veteran and quick offense to try and just keep up with this kid. Like, I can't even imagine. But Evans fought in return. He absorbed a questionable ankle tweak. He was like feeling his ankle. He was kind of limping around at some points during the match. Kofi, of course, took advantage of that. So at some points, he, being the veteran that he is, he saw the advantage and took it. Um, but Grayson Waller of the New Day eventually tried to interfere. Xavier Woods, his partner, tried to interfere. But then Offset, who was talking to Javon Evans earlier in the night, he was gonna come out and support him around ringside, but then he sees all this shenanigans going on. He hops the barricade, stares at Woods or Waller, and is like, "What you gonna do, bro?" And they back away. They run away. They back away. And this gives Javon Evans the opportunity to strike and hit his OG cutter for the win. And Javon Evans gets some great momentum going into the Elimination Chamber. He needed the Elimination Chamber momentum. So I'm glad for it. It doesn't do nothing but help the kid. So Kofi is putting over the future. We love to see that. We love to see that. We then cut to CM Punk, who is really going to make this quick. He comes out to the ring. The fans chant for AJ Styles. Before the Royal Rumble, CM Punk was AJ Styles' last opponent on a Monday Night Raw or a Friday Night SmackDown. So fans remember that first time encounter in the WWE, and they chanted all day long about it because this was about him. This night was about AJ Styles. But he just wants to talk briefly about Finn Balor, who he faces this Saturday, and asks what if he never did what he did in his match with AJ a few weeks ago. What if he never decided to take a low road and start attacking him? What if he just went up to Punk and challenged him just out of the blue, just out of respect? But he says he's following in the footsteps of superstars who came before him. CM Punk is by defending this title. Because Finn beat him up, Finn disrespected him, and Finn's not going to stop until he gets what he wants. Punk knows that, so he understands that he has to be a man about this situation. He has to beat Finn Balor. He has to put Finn Balor to the side. He has no other choice. So he says that if Roman Reigns, his WrestleMania opponent, if Elimination Chamber goes his way, he'll be facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. He asks, what if Roman Reigns were here tonight? But then he says Roman Reigns isn't here tonight, which is why he doesn't like dealing in what ifs, which is what Finn Balor was talking about in a vignette earlier, talking about, like, what if I was going to be. What if I never got hurt? What if I kept that first world title run? I could have been one of the best. Punk doesn't like to deal in what ifs. He does say that Roman will, however, be on Raw next week, and asks, what if he just shows up and then CM Punk just punches him in his stupid face? Because he's the best in the world, and he's the World Heavyweight Champion. And he just cuts this great promo and walks away. So, this thing heating up between the two of them. A lot to prove for Finn Balor. A lot to prove for CM Punk. So, it's a good exhibition match. We all kind of figure who will end up walking away. But, you never know. Right? I don't think you can say never anymore in the business of professional wrestling. I think that term's kind of dead. Dead in the water. But we then cut to the final qualifying match for the Women's Elimination Chamber. I guess they both happened on Raw. I kind of forgot about that. But we got Io Sky, we got Raquel Rodriguez, and we got Kairi Sane. And we might as well take out Kairi Sane because she's not winning, right? She's Asuka's understudy. She's Asuka's mentee to her mentor. Io's a superstar. Raquel, they see something in her. You know, Kyrie's kind of the odd one out here, and I love Kairi Sane so much, but we all knew she wasn't going to win here. But if I did think there was going to be a best you relationship we were going to explore, it would have been Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Because I thought Io Sky was going to make it through, but wasn't meant to be. Kairi Sane is about to hit her insane elbow drop onto Raquel, but Raquel counters and hits Kairi with her Tahana bomb and gets the win. So I was actually kind of surprised here. I like the win here. I like Raquel. I think they're leading her up to do some major split with Liv. I don't know when, but I like this. I like this choice, and I'll get into it why I like this choice tomorrow night on the Elimination Chamber review. So that'll be great. That'll be great. But big win for Raquel. She's the final person in the slot. So that fills up the women's elimination chamber. We've got Tiffany Stratton. We've got Rhea Ripley. We've got Alexa Bliss. We've got Asuka. We've got Kiana James. And now we've got Raquel Rodriguez. So that will fill out our field for both elimination chamber matches. Huge development. Huge. And then to close out our show, we have the AJ Styles retirement celebration. This was so freaking cool. I'll get into it. I'll get into why I liked it. But we'll start with the fact that we first hear AJ Styles' music again. He makes his first appearance since the Rumble, and man, it's a feel-good moment. They put on this touching video package before highlighting his career and all of his accomplishments, and man, it just puts you in the feels. Thank you, AJ Chants are loud in Atlanta. His hometown, being about, I think, an hour, he said, away from Gainesville. AJ is just grateful to have this celebration, and not only to have it, but to have it here in Atlanta. That's how he starts, and he says he's still that kid who grew up loving wrestling, even all these years later, and talks about wrestling quite literally everywhere, from New Japan to Europe to TNA to WWE. He's been everywhere. He's been in every, almost, never went to AEW, but he might. I don't know. You never know. He's been everywhere. He's been everywhere. And most wrestler, I don't know any wrestler who has a bad thing to say about AJ Styles. I think he's truly one of the best for a lot of different reasons. Um, but anyway, he knows that his career did not end the way that he or the fans wanted, but he admits that it was kind of poetic, and that not many people get to go out where they started. And what he means by that is that his first match in the WWE was in the Royal Rumble back in 2016. So to see that over a decade later, he ends his career at the Royal Rumble, he views it as a poetic thing, and that not many guys get to finish where they started. And he thinks that that's a complete run to him, a perfect run for him. So he's putting his gloves in his hands, and he never put him in the ring in Saudi, and the reason he never put him in the ring at Saudi was because he knew that a Raw was going to be in Atlanta, and he wanted to put his gloves and his vest and his official retirement. He wanted to put all those things in the middle of the ring and officially end things for good. And he said he's a man of his word, so now we have two guys that, as of right now, have not returned to wrestling and have been a man of their word. Well, and that's John Cena and AJ Styles. I miss you, John. I do. I do. He's my childhood hero. But the Raw locker room starts to flood out, and they start to clap. Some TNA legends were shown throughout the night, like Frankie Kazarian and Abyss, New Japan buddies, Gallows and Anderson, the Good Brothers. And I mean, AJ's just breaking down in tears in the ring. AJ is kind of a guy who does not like to show that he's crying or like to have the idea that he's crying. So, man, he was really fighting back, but you can tell it all meant a lot to him. And then we hear an all too familiar gong, and I might add the sound effect in there. But the arena fades to black, and it can only mean one guy, it can only mean one person. Who would it be? Who could it be? It's The Undertaker. The Undertaker! In his American Badass, gimmick with the motorcycle, starts motorbiking his way down to the ring, and they have some history together. AJ was actually the guy who had The Undertaker's last match back in 2020 in the Boneyard match. That's probably one of my favorite matches of all time. I think it's on YouTube. If you just look up Boneyard match, you can watch the full thing, I think, for free. So I would check it out because it's really one of those matches where it's like it feels like it's coming out of a movie. So anyway, they had this really cool thing back in 2020, and that was actually The Undertaker's last match. So I think it was fitting here that Taker came out for what he was about to come out for. So Taker comes out, and then he says that him and AJ have some unfinished business. Oh. And then he informs AJ that he will be the newest inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2026. Holy shit. I was so happy for AJ Styles in that moment. You have no idea. This Hall of Fame class is looking stacked. It's got Stephanie McMahon already in it. Now AJ Styles. Who else do we got, right? Anyway, his whole family was there. AJ's whole family was there. They start flooding the ring and giving him hugs. And oh man, AJ had no idea any of this was happening. You can tell it. Oh, what a moment. What a moment. And he deserves it. He 100% deserves any sort of wrestling Hall of Fame you can think of. He needs to be in any sort of wrestling, not even just WWE's Hall of Fame. Any fucking wrestling Hall of Fame. Come on. It's AJ Styles. But anyway, that was like a perfect way to end the night. Just emotional, incredible. Caps off just a great career in somebody who clearly not only means a lot to the wrestling business, but just to the fellow wrestlers in the back and to the fans, and he just means a lot. So, best of wishes, AJ. We love you, buddy. Love you. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and kick off to SmackDown. So, Friday Night SmackDown, the night before the Chamber. This thing was crazy good. I will get into it. This thing had so much intrigue going into the Chamber the next night. And we start off with a bang. We start off with Jey Uso being stretchered out on an ambulance. Someone, we don't know who, took out Jey Uso in the backstage area, and he's been escorted out to a hospital. Everyone around the ambulance is yelling, fighting, arguing, and we hear some words from the crowd. 4 letters! 1 word! Through! As WWE Champion, Drew McIntyre makes his way out to the ring. He says he had nothing to do with what happened to Jey, despite him being obviously the most obvious suspect. Who else would have attacked Jey other than Drew, who's had a history with Jey 4 years, and he just wants to do whatever he wants as WWE champion. He's made that obvious. That's what his goal is, just to do whatever the hell he wants to do. And it's like getting to a point where Nick Aldis just can't stand it. The SmackDown general manager has had absolutely enough of this stuff. 4 weeks. We'll get into it. But Cody Rhodes eventually interrupts him, but Drew runs away before Cody can even get to him. And oh my god, Cody's hot. He says that Drew's title reign has been mostly spent running like a little bitch. And then eventually, everybody else that's qualified for the chamber makes their way out and starts talking about how they're going to end up winning the chamber tomorrow night. That's Randy Orton, that's Trick Williams, that's LA Knight, that's Javon Evans. I mean, everybody's coming out. They're all saying, sorry what happened to Jey. Jey sucks. Like, I don't know what happened to Jey. So Trick Williams eventually pisses LA Knight off enough and to the point where they brawl, and everyone's brawling. And Randy Orton delivers an RKO to Javon Evans out of absolutely nowhere, right in front of Cody Rhodes, his good friend, his former Legacy member. And they just look at each other in the ring almost like a menacing stare. I'm starting to believe this could be our main event for WrestleMania. And I'll get into it tomorrow. Cody and Randy looking at each other in this moment on Friday night was crazy. They were locked in on each other. It was really a neat moment. We've been hinting at this for years, and I'm really hoping we'll strike the iron. I'll get into why. We then cut into a backstage segment where Kathy Kelly's trying to get the status on Jey Uso's participation for the Elimination Chamber match is now officially in question. But she is then talking to Tiffany Stratton about her opportunity in the chamber tomorrow night. But then Asuka confronts her and says that Tiffy time is over. But Tiffany feels like she's ready for Asuka, and she wants to find out tonight exactly what she's about. So she just challenges Asuka to a match. Two chamber contestants competing tonight. That's just neat. Just neat. But then we cut to Solo Sikoa and Uncle Howdy. This is the ultimate match between the two leaders of their two respective groups. They've had verbal stuff thrown at each other. They've had lanterns stolen. They've had tag team championship matches. But this is the first time the respective leaders from the Wyatt Six and the MFTs are going one-on-one. And I think it's intriguing. Solo hits an Uso splash onto Uncle Howdy on the top rope, but Howdy kicks out at two. Then Solo's trying to put the finishing touches on Howdy with the Samoan spike, but he is hesitant to use it as the pain that he had endured throughout the match caught up to him in his hand. And so Uncle Howdy eventually takes advantage of this opportunity, hits Sister Abigail on Solo Sikoa for the win. And Uncle Howdy, for the moment, steals back the late great Bray Wyatt's lantern, and all seems to be finally right. But then Talatonga, the big boy of the MFTs, just runs him over, and the whole group of MFTs start to swarm Howdy, and it's like a 5-on-1, and they take the lantern again. But the rest of the Wyatt Six came out, but before they could really do anything, the MFTs left. So they took the lantern again. This thing is not over. Maybe it'll continue at WrestleMania. Probably. Maybe. That's what it's looking like. I think we'll get Solo and Howdy again at WrestleMania. Maybe. But, I mean, I'm all for this continuing, right? It gives them both something to do, and I think it's something entertaining to watch. I like watching the Wyatts. I think they're an intriguing group. We then cut to a backstage segment where the SmackDown general manager, Nick Aldis, is confronted by the Vision, which now only consists of Logan Paul and Austin Theory. Again, I'll get into that a little later. And both of them are trying to get into the chamber at this point as a result of Jey Uso being taken out. I think a lot of people are trying to strike the iron while it's hot here to fill in this slot. But Aldis says that he'll make something work because something has to be done no matter what, and that he'll let them know. So Jacob Fatu also makes his case for it because he's had his own issues with Drew and he wants to settle it with Drew. He's so tired of Drew. And so Nick Aldis eventually sets up the main event for tonight, which is Logan Paul and Jacob Fatu. And the winner will take the last spot in the Elimination Chamber match in place of Jey Uso. We'll get into that once we get into the main event. But then we get to Tiffany Stratton versus what was supposed to be Asuka. But Asuka doesn't want to fight Tiffany. She really tells her that she wants to conserve her energy for the chamber match tomorrow. So instead, she sends out poor Kairi Sane, who already competed on Raw. I guess she doesn't have to rest. So Chelsea Green also was a part of this match. She was commentary. She was wheeled out on her little brace. It was entertaining. This match was entertaining. I think it did what it was supposed to do on the entertainment factor. Chelsea Green tried to get up again and interfere in the match, but Tiffany wasn't having it, and she just hit Chelsea, and she just went dead. And then that was after like Kyrie was trying to hit maybe an elbow off the top rope on the floor. But Tiffany kind of dodged it, and she hit Chelsea hard. So poor Chelsea. Maybe this isn't a real injury if they're getting her involved in physicality, right? Like maybe it's not an actual legitimate injury. So that's good, maybe, right? Because they wouldn't throw her in there if she wasn't. Yeah, anyway. Tiffy hits her prettiest moonsault ever on Kyrie. Hits the win. She needed the momentum. She was my favorite going into the Elimination Chamber match. I figured she had the best chance out of all 6. But again, we'll get into the Chamber match tomorrow if you tune in. But we get to Oba Femi versus The Miz, and boy oh boy, does The Miz like to get beat up. The Miz starts immediately regretting his decisions of calling Oba out last week. The ruler, the supreme, the future. Oba makes his entrance, and man, oh man, Miz is backpedaling. He grabs the mic and tells Oba that they don't even have to fight tonight. And as the Rock locker room leader since John Cena left, he wants to use this as a teachable moment. But Oba isn't wanting to hear about this teaching moment or any of this, and he just starts to destroy the Miz, and he gets the win. I believe Oba Femi is getting built up to a WrestleMania match. I do believe that we're having him beat all kinds of people every week for one guy, and that's Brock Lesnar. And on Brock Lesnar's last year, which is supposed to be this year, I think this is the moment you get Oba Femi and Brock Lesnar in a match at WrestleMania. Because you're already going to have him face Gunther when he's ready to lose his career. So, whenever he's ready to retire. Because this is supposed to be his last year. Gunther will have his last match. Give us Brock and Oba. Please. Anyway. We then cut to Carmelo Hayes and Matt Cardona in a U.S. Open challenge. Carmelo Hayes does this every week. Carmelo Hayes got the win over Cardona for the United States Championship. He is our United States champion still. Cardona answered the open challenge. This was his first real shot at WWE Gold since returning under his real name, not Zack Ryder, but as Matt Cardona. And, you know, great. It's great stuff. The United States Championship he has history with, right? He's won the United States title, he's won the Intercontinental title. So, it's a credible challenge. It's a credible challenge this week. The early portion saw Cardona controlling most of the match, targeting Hayes' back and with strikes to the limbs. But Hayes rallied back mid-match with a springboard leg drop. He hit La Mystica and eventually hit his first 48 for the win. And this before the match, this was interesting. It was supposed to be Ilya Dragunov this week because last week they weren't even having their match. It was supposed to happen, and then it never did. But Ilya doesn't feel like he's earned it, right? So he sat this one out. He was in a suit. He wasn't even in his ring gear. So I wonder if next week we'll see a little bit more fire in Ilya. But he didn't take the challenge tonight, and so someone else did, right? So Carmelo's still rolling. They're not having him lose that thing anytime soon. I don't really know when they would. But we then cut to a match with Jordynne Grace and Candice LeRae. Right, Jordynne Grace is the future. Candice LeRae is trying to wrangle her husband, right? Because her husband can't think normally right now. This week, he's just walking around. He's just standing around, walking around the ring like a dead ghost. And then he somehow costs Candice LeRae this match with Jordynne Grace. And he just looks so out of it. When is he going to be snapped out of this? When is Johnny Gargano going to snap out of this? Does he remember what he's done? Like, come on, man. This has got to end with Johnny Gargano. Like, he's got to snap out of it. Or else he's going to lose so much steam that nobody gives a shit about him anymore. Like, he's just going to be a guy that people laugh at. He's not a serious contender anymore like he was in NXT. And that's bullshit. Johnny Gargano is much more than that. Check the tape. Check the tape. This isn't it right here. This is not it. But we then cut to a backstage segment right before the main, or I guess a little bit before the main event. But Jacob Fatu is getting ready for his match tonight with Logan Paul. Cody Rhodes comes up to him and tells him that he hopes it's him that wins tonight. He wants to see Fatu in the chamber. And, Fatu's kind of like, all right, bet. But then, here's what's interesting. Sami Zayn shows up. He shows up to shake Cody's hand. Just, just a friendly handshake maybe. And Cody just gives him a quick one and walks away. It's not the same Cody that we've been seeing around anybody, really. Like, Cody's starting to feel and act a little different. I can tell. You can tell these things if you watch every week, but it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting things developing here. But Sammy confronts Jacob Fatu and he asks about Jay's condition. But Jacob says he ain't looking too good. So Sammy knows that he didn't do it. This is crazy right here. Sammy says he knows he didn't do anything to Jay. But maybe implying that Jacob Fatu did it instead. Because he's trying to get an opportunity into the chamber and that Drew. Maybe he wants Drew that badly that he's willing to mess up his own family member to get into the chamber and go to WrestleMania. Jacob's obviously offended by these comments. Why would Sammy say something like that? That is so suspicious. It is. It really is. It really is. Jacob says that they both lost their qualifying match to Cody Rhodes, and Drew interfered and cost Jacob his match. He screwed Jacob over. There's so much problems there. And it seems like Drew didn't have to attack Sami Zayn. He never attacked Sami Zayn that night when Cody Rhodes qualified for the Chamber. So that was also a very interesting thing to point out, and that maybe Drew was wanting Sami to win, not trying to screw him over. And Sami understands this, and he apologizes again, and like wishes him luck before he goes out there. And Jacob gets out of there, and Sami is crashing out. This crash out is almost heel level. Sami Zayn will be a heel in due time. It's looking like that. He is getting frustrated more and more every week with his circumstances, and he's gonna do something about it. He's eventually gonna do something about it, and I don't know who he's gonna do it on, but it's gonna happen. I have a feeling it's gonna happen. But we then go to our last two matches of the night and of the week, and these are pretty big matches. We got Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus the Irresistible Forces, Nia Jax and Lash Legend for the WWE Tag Team Championships. And we have new tag team champions. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky have finally lost the women's tag team titles. I'll get into that. The Irresistible Forces, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, they controlled this thing from the get-go. They had Rhea and Io from the jump. I figured eventually it would be them. I didn't think it would be this soon. Ripley and Sky, they worked together well, and they were trying so hard. They were trying to hit a big sequence, and you're in there. Io Sky's hitting her moonsaults, Rhea's hitting her riptides, but in the closing moments, the newcomer, the newest member of the SmackDown roster, Lash Legend, hits the Lash extension on Rhea Ripley for the win. On Rhea Bloody Ripley, of all people. Lash Legend. Not only that girl's gonna be big, she's already got a belt. She's already a women's tag team champion. Like, there is something they see in her, and I see it too. So that girl's got swagger and aura all over her. And Nia, we all know about Nia. She is just a brute. These two get it done, man. I'm here for it. I'm here to see what they can do with it. I'm here to see what Lash can do with this opportunity. And I think this opens up Rhea Ripley for an opportunity to win the Elimination Chamber match now. Now that she doesn't have a tag title holding her back, I think now that just opens the door wide open to things. So that's super interesting. But then we cut to our main event. Jacob Fatu and Logan Paul. The last thing of the week. And this bout served as a qualifier after Jey Uso was attacked backstage to begin the night. Aldis needed to find a sixth person. Jey isn't going to be able to compete. But, this thing always involves things, and this thing always has interferences. I think the match between these two is really interesting. I like the matchup. It's not one you would think would work, but the big high-flying Jacob Fatu versus the quick and agile Logan Paul. It's a good matchup. I like it. But we once again get another appearance from a hooded figure. He appears at ringside, and this time we actually get an unmasking. And Logan Paul gets the guy, takes the mask off, and it's nobody. It's nobody we know, right? I'll get into who it is later, because once I found out, I think it was really cool. But it's just some guy we don't have a name for. So it's obvious that whoever is behind this sent this guy out there. I figured there was he wasn't coming out there every week and stomping people. I'm sure I was thinking he was hiring people out there to get the job done until he came back or until he shows up, which I'll get into it. But once again, this is another week where Drew McIntyre gets involved. Drew McIntyre struck Jacob Fatu with a weapon-like blow, which allows Paul to quickly roll Fatu up for the 3 count. And Logan Paul will qualify for the Elimination Chamber instead of Jey Uso. So Drew McIntyre is once again screwed over Jacob Fatu. And how I imagine this going, how I imagine WrestleMania going, I'll talk about tomorrow when I talk about the Elimination Chamber matches. Because boy, oh boy, oh boy, do I have a lot to talk about with that. But overall, man, I think Raw and SmackDown both cooked at points. Was it entertaining the entire time? No. But when they cooked with gas. They cooked like they should. So I liked both these shows. I think they did a decent job at bringing them both home. So I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break into our last little segment of the day, and this is a little segment. News break! Alright, so the thing I've been talking about all night that I said I was going to wait for this moment to talk about, I will talk about now. Bronson Reed has potentially suffered a bicep injury on Monday night and could be out for a potential of 4 to 6 months. And it's these kind of updates that you really don't want to see, because usually with injuries, there's usually like a level of unknown. We don't know whether it's serious or not. And usually if we don't know, it's a good sign. But we knew pretty much immediately the diagnosis of Bronson Reed's bicep injury, and man, oh man, ever since they decided to start with the idea of betraying Seth Rollins, like, it hasn't been the same for the group, and it's devastating to lose 2 of your major founding members of this group. And like Logan Paul and Austin Theory are fine in their own right, but you need the group. It's hard to, man, I don't know. I don't know what the Vision has planned for us. I don't know. Their whole WrestleMania plans just kind of evaporated. Like, I have no idea what the Vision is going to do at WrestleMania, considering their 2 main eventers are not there. And they're both hurt. I mean, it's devastating. I feel for Bronson. I hope he recovers as quickly as he can, because the guy is needed on television. He's super talented in every regard. And yeah, man, the Vision's just losing its members one by one, dude. Logan Paul and Austin Theory better wrap themselves in bubble wrap. Don't wrap yourselves in butter. That'd be a very interesting idea. Wrap yourselves up in butter. Fuck, I just said it again. Oh my god. Bubble wrap. Bubble wrap. You're gonna need it. Clearly. And our last story comes from Hall of Famer, former WWE wrestler who is no longer with us, the British Bulldog. Family member Davey Boy Smith, second generation. Used to be David Hart Smith in the WWE. He announced that not only was the British Bulldogs Hall of Fame ring stolen, but that they had retrieved it and that it's now back to where it needs to be, which is good. There was apparently this whole thing, and he was upset as to why someone would do this. I mean, it's wrestling fans can be the worst type. And you can tell that it's a wrestling fan, not just somebody, you know. It's like that situation where someone sold Tom Brady's jersey. Like, that's not just some guy. That's some guy who loves football and hates Tom Brady or something. Like, I don't know. Wrestling fans can be really weird. And I don't know why we do things like this. And I don't know why we steal things, but I'm glad that they've recovered it, you know, especially when he isn't even alive anymore. The Bulldog, he isn't even alive anymore. I'm glad they were able to retrieve it. So, I believe that is it for my Rasslin Report for this week. I'd like to thank everybody again very much for watching, listening, however you're doing so. And stay tuned for tomorrow night for our next Rasslin Report, the Elimination Chamber Report, baby. Woo!